first closing, I'm in the conference room waiting for my clients to arrive. They said, we were driving here and we heard a really big thud, but we knew we were already late for settlement, so we had to just keep driving. They were driving a pickup truck, and in the front of their grill, they hit a buzzard that got stuck inside their grill. So the buzzard was just completely splayed open on the grill, stuck in it. The trend now that I'm seeing a lot more is buyers that will send me emails of, here's some language I think needs to be in this contract because ChatGPT told me to put it in. And then I have to say, okay, do you want Chat to be your attorney or do you want me to be your attorney? You know?
There's a house here in Los that was under contract, and the buyer, due to some sort of family circumstances, decided to walk from the contract. Seller wouldn't let him out for $250,000.
Oh my gosh.
And the house was north of $5 million.
Wow.
So that's a pretty substantial number to walk away
It
from.
is.
Welcome back to Down to the Beach. I'm Andy Staten, and today I'm sitting down with Veronica Townsend, the managing attorney and owner of the House of Townsend, helping families and businesses across Sussex County. She focuses on real estate planning, and business law, and started here as a summer clerk in 2017, and now she owns the place. So let's get down to the beach. Please welcome Veronica Townsend. Veronica, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Of course, super excited to have you. I'm going to just jump right in.
Sounds good.
What's showing up today, if there is any, amongst buyers and sellers?
I'll tell you the one thing that ends up being really interesting are surveys.
Okay.
Like boundary surveys.
Oh, sure.
For
Yeah,
property.
that's 6 inches is my property.
That's right. And that's what I was going to say is that all buyers are different. So you run into issues where we get a boundary survey conducted for buyers before closing. It's their choice, but I always recommend that they get it because ultimately what we want to see is where is the house? Is it compliant with the setbacks? It's very rarely the house. It's most always a fence or a shed. And it's either that property's fence or shed that's encroaching on a neighbor's, or it's a neighbor's fence or shed that's encroaching on ours.
Yeah.
And the amount of deals that have always or almost fallen apart over 0.1 inches, of a fence. And again, that's what I tell buyers. I say, I can't tell you what I would do in your position. Sometimes it's encroaching by a full 12 feet and they say, we don't care.
Right.
Sometimes, again, it's that tiny little minuscule amount and it can delay settlement. I mean, my recommendation, again, with getting the survey is it's good for you as the buyer to know those things before you take possession.
Sure.
Because ultimately, if you want it moved, that should be on the seller's dime to get it moved or to have that talk with a neighbor before you take possession and they're your neighbor to say, listen, we got to get it moved.
Across that situation a fair amount. Like
Yeah.
we've moved sheds.
Right.
We've launched letters to neighbors that says your fence has got to move. We're putting you on formal notice, right?
Right.
Seller puts money in escrow or whatever that might be, in order to, to keep the deal moving and not delay 6 months or 3 months or whatever it's going to take to get somebody to do something.
Exactly.
So I have actually a listing right now in a very, very prestigious neighborhood in Rehoboth where the county has a sewer easement under the driveway, right? It's part of the sewer system. So the sewer system just runs, lines run everywhere, right? So buyer was going to buy the property, super interested.
Okay.
And said, I don't like the fact there's utility easement. I was like, you do understand there are utilities under your entire property.
Right.
Right? It's called misutility when you do anything on your property because there are utility lines everywhere. It was on the survey.
Wow.
They're like, we're out.
Wow.
Right, we're out. So yeah, and so yeah, it's been very interesting to see the small examples of sometimes what the buyer and seller mentality is around something that I might think is very small.
Exactly.
But it's not.
And that's what it comes down to because again, I'm never going to make that judgment call for people. And the other element that I see a lot, especially in this area, are deed restrictions, and not in the sense of like, again, RBYCC, like big communities of having true restrictions where the buyers get to see them.
Right, 6-foot fences, 4-foot fences.
Right, all of that. I'm talking like old school deed restrictions that I'll see in the title search as their title attorney. I will disclose to buyers and say, listen, in your deed, however many years ago, some owner at the time put these restrictions in, and it's typically for these small little subdivisions, like 10 little blocks on a little cul-de-sac somewhere. And a lot of times the restrictions will say no poultry. And there's people that, again, move not necessarily to the beach, but more the rural parts around here. And they say, our dream of moving here out of the city is we want to have chickens, we want to have goats, we want to have pigs.
Right.
And I have to break the news to them and say, you can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's tricky too, because it's not just a simple matter of, you're in a large community with an HOA that could, dictate what you can and can't do. Oftentimes in these communities, there's no one to really enforce them.
Yeah.
So you have the problem of, okay, well, what do I do there? What if I do put chickens on my property?
Yeah.
What's going to happen to me?
Yeah.
So
it takes a little bit of experience too, both as an attorney, as an agent, and not. I hope this is not to be about me. So cut this later if you want to.
Yeah.
But I sold a property on Stokely Road in Georgetown last
Okay.
year. An owner broke up a 30-acre parcel into 5 6-acre lots. And my client bought it 15 years ago. He built a house and a garage, a very traditional looking house.
Mm-hmm.
And the buyer wanted to add an additional structure on the property, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
6-acre parcel. He wanted to add a pole barn. Deed restriction said no
Mm-hmm.
secondary structures.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So now anytime, including 2 weeks ago, I write an offer on a piece of land.
Yes.
I put subject to deed restrictions within the first 14 days, or 30, 21 days. However long it
That's
takes
so
the attorney.
important.
Yeah, because I mean, in this particular case, it's only 2 acres.
Right.
It's in Lewis, but it's on one of the country roads. And I
Right.
thought, I need to make sure that you can do it. If you
Correct.
want to build a secondary garage, you need to be able to do that.
Correct. And you're right. It's usually parcels like that were larger, that used to be owned by one family, and they still live in the surrounding
Around,
properties. So that's why
correct.
they put them on, because they want to make sure that those property values are, preserved,
That's
and
right.
no one's doing anything that they wouldn't want to be done
Yeah.
on those parcels.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. And I see a lot of buyers too that struggle with that, where they'll automatically go to a place of, criticizing the seller and say, oh, the seller should have disclosed this. The seller doesn't always know either. They
correct.
should know, but if they
Correct.
weren't told at their settlement.
Yeah, my seller didn't know. He bought it
Right.
he bought it with the purpose of building a house.
Right.
So,
Right.
when he sold it, their purpose was different than his.
Mm-hmm.
So it ultimately worked out.
Good.
They found that they could just attach, kind of a line of sight roof over to a secondary structure, and they were going to make it work.
That's
but
good.
still,
Even the pole
not
barn
happy.
conversation is interesting too, because again, chickens is something more specific to this area. I had a talk with an attorney, again, out west recently, about another mutual client, and we were talking about pole barns. And I kept mentioning pole barn, pole shed, and finally she interrupted me. She said, What do you keep saying? I don't know what that is. We don't have those out
funny.
here. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Like,
yeah.
oh, how do I explain this?
A garage.
Right.
A garage. Yeah. A garage with a dirt floor.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I mean,
That now people want to live in.
Oh no, and I know people are building.
They're beautiful.
Tell me about one of your favorite closings or one of your favorite clients.
Oh my gosh. There's so many. And I
Yeah.
really say I'm so fortunate to do what I do. I know that I'm truly in my lane. Like, this is my niche. I was meant to do what I do. But I have so many awesome stories, so many crazy stories. I mean, you see with real estate, you deal with so many
give me
people
one.
all the
Give me
time.
a good one.
So my
It can
very
be good or bad, right?
Okay.
I mean, your favorite story can always be something that started bad and come out.
That's true.
right?
And I've learned that too, the
Sure.
hard way. Being a
Yeah.
perfectionist, type A, eldest daughter, you're really critical on yourself. But I
course.
mean, those mistakes you make are the ones you ultimately learn the most.
Yeah.
But my very first closing, again, I'd been in the law firm as a law clerk. So I was really fortunate. I had amazing training. I had an amazing mentor who was the attorney who
Right.
owned the practice at the time.
Yeah.
So my very first day when I truly became licensed, you have to take the bar, pass the bar.
Which is not easy in Delaware.
Correct. It's
Right.
not.
It's
And
like
then
a
you
52% pass rate, something that's ridiculous.
Yep. And it historically used to just be once a year. So if you didn't pass, you had to wait a whole nother year to take it.
Wow.
They've finally now come around on that, and it's twice a year, like every other state. So again, I had amazing mentorship. I felt really prepared on the very first day that I could do a settlement. And I've been sitting in on them, essentially doing them
For years.
for years anyway. So on the first day, I didn't feel unfamiliar. And being a law clerk too, I started on the first part of the process of the basics with the computers. Like, still to
Right.
this day, every single part of the process I could do on my own,
Okay, cool.
which I think is amazing. It helps me so much. I feel like it helps with the camaraderie with the staff, just to know I could step in and help them where needed.
Yeah, of course.
So again, first closing, I'm in the conference room waiting for my clients to arrive, and they're really late. And I'm wondering, okay, what's going on here? First of all, you're concerned because, okay, oh God, does something happen at the walkthrough? Is there some problem that I'm going to have to deal with?
100%.
I'm brand new. I've seen things before, but this is my first time really guiding people. So the clients arrive and they said, okay, we're driving here. They were coming from the other side of the county. They said, we were driving here and we heard a really big thud, but we knew we were already late for settlement. So we had to just keep driving, which that's already terrifying too.
Yeah,
Okay,
what is that?
what is that? So they're driving, they get to the office parking lot, they step outside. They were driving a pickup truck, and in the front of their grill, they hit a buzzard that got stuck inside their grill. So the buzzard was just completely splayed open on the grill, stuck in it, alive, by the way. So they show up in a complete panic, not sure, what to do. We have to sign all their paperwork. Luckily, my office at the time was right across the street from the Millville Fire Hall. So someone from my office just went over to the fire hall and said,
Wait,
hey,
can-
what do we do about
can
this
you do
bird?
this?
Right.
Yeah.
Can we do this? Because we have some paperwork
They're
to
like,
sign.
that's the police. I'm out.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
That's not us. That's the
Oh
police.
yeah, and they were of course really rattled, but they ended up having to get some of like the environmental groups with bird rescues to come and to get the bird out. So
God.
yeah, and that was my very first closing.
Okay then, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
okay, and it turned out
It
well,
did. It was
right?
great. Yeah, the part I was worried about ended up being fine. So that's a
Yeah.
lesson too. And you can worry about every little thing, but you can never be prepared for other crazy things that could happen.
All right, turn it around. What's a nightmare story if you're willing to share?
Yeah. So again, you know how people can be. All people are different and people's personalities can be very different. So there was definitely a time, I would say pre-COVID, which you can probably remember this, like just how the market has shifted of
Yep.
really having people at the table where at the time it seemed like buyers had so many more rights because they knew, there was a lot more inventory.
Yeah.
So they really could walk away or they would try to walk away if, the seller really wasn't cooperating with them.
Yep.
So there still were so many moments I had then as a young attorney, which I'm grateful for because it really shaped me and gave me that experience with dealing with difficult people, of having a room filled with people, sellers and buyers and agents all still coming together and looking to you to help them still continue to negotiate right there at the table
Yeah.
and wondering, okay, what's going to happen? Are people going to walk? So, and you still have that now. It seems like a lot less of it because, again, the market has shifted so much.
Yeah.
And then during COVID, contracts changed so much. It was everything way over asking, no contingency. So, again, buyers are coming to closing. And even if there's a problem with the house,
They're closing
they're
anyway.
closing
Yeah,
anyway.
because
Or,
I mean, they're large deposits, whatever that might
oh, yeah,
be.
right.
So, have you had someone walk away from a deposit because they weren't happy in the deal?
I have, and that's always tricky too to counsel them and say, okay, well, what are we going to do? It typically comes down to money. And my role, I tell everyone too, is I'm an advocate, so I can't decide for you. My favorite clients are the ones that know very clearly what they want because that makes my job easy, right? I can advocate for what they want, but the difficult ones are the ones that don't really seem to know what they want. So it makes it hard for all of us, including
Right.
agents like you, to really guide them and get them towards their end goal. So I have that conversation with many buyers if they are considering walking away to say, okay, I can't really tell you the likelihood of what would happen in court because I
Right.
don't go to court for anything. I don't litigate. So you have to decide, am I going to risk losing my $5,000 deposit or am I going to
Or
risk
50,000.
right or 50 getting sued for a lot more? And that's usually what it comes down to. How much was your deposit
Right.
and how much could
What's
you
that risk
right,
reward of walking
right.
away versus not?
Exactly,
Right?
because when it's 50, you're definitely, you have a
Oh
lot more
no,
stake in the game.
I learned recently there's a house here in Los that was under contract, and the buyer, due to some sort of family circumstances, decided to walk from the contract. Seller wouldn't let him out of it. 250,000.
Oh my gosh.
No, the house was north of 5 million. So,
Wow.
so it's all relative, right?
Uh-huh.
5,000 on 250,000 versus 5 million. 250,000 on 5.
Yeah.
It's the numbers, but still,
Exactly.
that's a pretty substantial number to walk away
It
from.
is.
I don't know the details. I don't know what happened, but certainly you must have seen, I mean, if you can recall any
Mhm.
story where the buyer wanted, a new dishwasher or wanted a new roof at the settlement table. I don't see that very often.
Yeah, you don't too often, but
I-
there's certain times too where you kind of learn over the years methods to get creative. And ultimately, too, if I know an agent's just going to say, hey, I'll just take it from my commission, or I'll even say, I'll just reduce my fees and I'll give them $150 for a dishwasher. Like it's not worth it for the sake of, keeping everybody happy and
Sure.
together. Let's just bring this to fruition and get it closed.
What's a pattern you're seeing, for most buyers and sellers that not as a concern necessarily, but kind of a
Mhm.
new pattern if
Well,
they're
I'm seeing a lot less of first time home buyers. I mean, this
Okay.
market has been difficult and more, seasoned buyers are moving to the area. But the conversation I still am having with many of them, no matter what phase of buying they are, is the stress and overwhelming feeling of, I don't know what I'm doing throughout the process. And I try to remind everybody of, I'm hearing it from the people that have done it many times before and the new people too,
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter how long you've done it. I mean, it's not like you buy a house every year. Some people might. But I remind even my new clients when they feel that overwhelming feeling of not feeling like they know what they're doing is even the people that have done it a million times, it's changed so many times over the years. So
Yeah.
closings do continue to evolve. There's different paperwork. I mean, agents and attorneys, we're always having to educate ourselves on the laws that are changing. And that's really different with Delaware, where lately the laws have been changing here.
Right.
We have a pretty old school state where our laws really haven't changed for a long time. I
Right.
mean, there's big contractual changes, there's big changes on my end with some transfer on death deeds. Like there's a lot of new things that are happening now. But the trend now that I'm seeing a lot more is buyers that will send me emails of, here's some language I think needs to be in this contract because ChatGPT told me to put it in. And then I have to
Yeah.
say, okay, do you want, Chat to be your attorney or do you want me to be your attorney?
Right.
Let's try to,
Right.
think this through
How
together.
versed is ChatGPT?
Right.
Well, that's super interesting because I know as
Yeah.
agents are using it for valuation. They're using it for, basic things like how to write the description of a
Mhm.
house. But I mean, they're using it to respond to clients who are asking really hard legal
Wow.
questions, right?
Yeah,
They're
and that would
asking
scare
me.
me.
I'm a little hesitant to use ChatGPT or Claude or anything
Yes.
to that. I mean, you can train these tool sets,
Yes.
and I suspect that you guys are probably having some AI on the back end to help, interpret whatever the law that that
Right.
you're working with. But it's a
It
lot.
is, and I'm still very resistant to it. I mean, even
Yeah,
though I'm younger and a young practitioner, I'm still really old school
yeah,
with a lot of things, so I'm very fearful to, explore that a lot
right.
more, and I, want to keep working my brain and keep advising clients the best I can, and I know there's benefits with a lot of it, and I want to stay up on the times and relevant with our industry, but I still want to keep doing things the way that they've been working for years
Yeah,
too.
for sure. For
So,
sure.
yeah.
You started here as a 22-year-old summer clerk just before
Mhm.
law school in 2017, right? And then in 2022, you own the place.
Correct.
How'd that go down?
Pretty crazy to think about, and still crazy, at the time, and crazy now even as a 33-year-old. So I'm born and raised here. I went to law school in North Carolina, but I still knew in the summer, of course, I want to be back in my hometown, but my hometown's an amazing place. I mean, the beaches are here, so why not? So I spent a summer as a law clerk at the practice. And at the time, I thought I wanted to do a completely different realm of law. I really was going to law school so I could get my law degree and ultimately pursue a career in fashion law.
Right. And we're gonna
So,
dig into that.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
so I had my summer law and clerkship at the practice, and I really loved the type of law that I was doing. I loved the community to serve because, of course, these are the people that raised me and made me who I am. And I loved the small town feel, the transactional nature of everything, and really just getting to help people one on one, sitting at the table with them and be part of a major moment in their lives. So I never looked back. I loved the type of law experience I had that summer. I took the bar. I eventually became an attorney. 2022 took over the practice as sole attorney and sole owner, and here we are
So
today.
you didn't go to the big city, right? You didn't go
Correct.
to New York City
Correct.
and pursue
Yep.
fashion law. You
Yep.
decided to put a resident practice
Hmm.
in Ocean View and real estate law, business planning. Kind of dig into that a little bit if you would.
Yep. So, with the type of work we do at the practice, it's all transactional. So, we do real estate settlements. So, in Delaware, you do have to be represented by an attorney if you're purchasing a house or refinancing your home. I do estate planning. So, I prepare wills and trust and powers of attorneys for Delaware residents. And I also form Delaware business entities for Delaware entrepreneurs. All of those areas of the practice really flow together, which is wonderful because there's so many people, as we all know, that are relocating to Delaware. So I have the chance to update their wills if they had them done in surrounding states. Many times we have clients that are purchasing a piece of property to rent out. So I get to talk to them about forming an LLC
Got it.
for their rental, or I get to help other creative entrepreneurs like me, where I still feel like I get to tweak into that, fashion law part of my brain
Right.
and help them come up with something creative of a business venture they may have always wanted
So I
to
know
pursue.
that I mean, I've been practicing for 23 years, and
Yeah.
every single person that I sell a house to that
Hmm.
decides to domicile here to become a resident, I mean,
Yep.
they need exactly that, right?
Hmm.
Including me, right? And then you have
Yep.
to update, you have to go through that process. So I think that sounds like a perfect marriage between doing the real estate law and the estate planning piece.
Yep.
So, but your family, when you decide you kind of crossed a bunch of
Hmm.
conversations in that. I mean, your family's been here for a long time, right?
Yes.
I think I've read somewhere 1 million chickens a year in the poultry business in the 30s, right?
Correct.
So your
Yep.
family's been here for over 100 years.
Yes.
They've been in poultry and farming and probably in land ownership and a whole bunch of other
Hmm.
things. How did you arrive at the law? How did you not go back into the family business?
It's a really good question, but I
Yeah.
will say my dad was a commercial fisherman, so a lot of people would ask me that growing up too, and they say, "Don't you want to be out in the boat with your dad?" Yes, I like being out in the boat, but I don't want to be out waking up at 3 a.m. going 30 to 40
Fair.
miles offshore and smelling bunker bait
Okay.
all day. So
Okay.
I'll go
Okay.
out in the boat, I'll go out in the bay. I love going out in the ocean, so it's still fun for me to do that. My mom was a nurse, and at one point, it's an amazing profession to be in. So she really thought growing up that I might get into the healthcare side, but I have the utmost respect for nurses, but I know that it's not my thing. Anything in the science and math field is really not
So let's go back
for
to
me.
so your dad was a fisherman.
Uh huh.
How many 3 o'clock mornings were there?
Oh my gosh, so many. And it was crazy. I mean, he really did a great job with raising me and my brother. But I mean, we had the phase of teenagers and then into our early, young 20s, still being at home, the summers in between college of we're still up late with our friends and he's waking up to go to
Yeah, he's
work
like,
and
it's
you're terrified of,
yeah.
oh God,
Yeah,
now
is
dad
he
is
gonna call
waking
me
up.
to
Yeah,
go, right?
right. Oh yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. I mean, what was some of the, give me a crazy story of being out with your dad fishing, right? Because my brother's, by the way, is a commercial fisherman.
Oh my
He works
gosh, I
in
didn't know that.
Alaska. He works in Alaska. I mean,
That's
he's
awesome.
an engineer on one of the catch process boats. But like
Yeah.
crazy stories when you're in the Aleutian,
Oh,
Alaska, the Aleutian Sea,
crazy.
you're out in that
Oh
area.
yeah, and there's so many things too. I mean, now my dad is retired and he loves to fish. I mean, it's still a passion of his and he was doing it since he was 12. So
Yeah.
he's still really into it, but now he almost has a fear of the ocean because he realized just for how long that he was out there doing what he did and he really
Right.
doesn't want to have to go back out there unless necessary. So now he's really into freshwater fishing and goes to a lot of the cool lakes in southern Delaware.
Okay.
But he always told my family and really my mom, he said, if you knew half the things I saw and dealt with out there, I mean, there's stories he wouldn't even tell her
I'm sure.
just to not,
Oh, I can't imagine
terrify
the
us.
safety, the terrified safety issues. You're out
Oh,
there,
yeah.
a storm comes in.
Exactly.
I mean, let alone the waves and the water and everything else, and lightning and everything else.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
did you go through any of that when you were kind of growing up? I mean,
No, fortunately not. I mean, I wouldn't be out there in the water when he did it, but it still gave me such a great childhood because we would be out in the boat all the time.
yeah.
And I'm so comfortable with being out in the boat and I'll go out and take my friends crabbing and clamming and like we were just out last weekend up
Right.
to like, your neck out in the bay, just
Sure.
digging around to get clams with your feet.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but that was such a great part of my childhood and just being outside in this area is amazing. And it's still great to still take advantage of the beautiful area where we live and to do things that people in the cities don't get to do. I just told my boyfriend the other night we were eating crabs and I said, it's crazy just to think about what other people out west are doing right now in the summer eating for dinner. Like we have this joy
Right.
and beauty of sitting down and picking
Exactly.
crabs for dinner. What are other people doing?
Exactly.
Are they ever going to get to experience something like this? So
Right.
it's crazy to think about. And we're just so fortunate to do it, often here and we take it for granted a lot of
Agreed.
times.
And you're quite the outdoors person. We talked a little bit on the phone
Yes.
prior to you coming in. You love to play tennis. You love to play golf. You love to make a fashion statement in doing both.
Yes.
I did have a slight disagreement. I thought, how's she playing tennis and not my favorite sport?
I
Which is
know,
pickleball, and
I
everybody knows
know.
that, right?
Yep.
But so you're an outdoors person as well,
Mhm.
and you love to do that. And so, to make the transition, you majored in fashion merchandising,
I did.
right? And you kind of made that a little bit of a thing
Mhm.
outside of your law practice
Yeah.
today, right? How did that, is that sort of the House of Townsend, right?
Yes.
And sort of a play on kind of the fashion side of that?
It absolutely is. So, because I have my fashion background, I've always admired the major fashion houses like House of Gucci, House of Prada. And it's not just, the name that comes with it, but the prestige and the value associated with that too. So, when you're going to an attorney, you want to know that you're going to have that same high quality experience and you're going to be treated right and have that value associated with it. But with the type of law I do, it's all about people planning for their legacy. And that's what a major fashion house is. I mean, it's still having this designer name in the brand many, many years after that designer has passed.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned with my family history in the area, the Townsend name and Townsend legacy, I'm so proud to be a part of that and to have my family legacy in me. So anything I can do with my practice to help people prepare for their legacy and set up their legacy is really important to me.
Yeah, so the legacy piece, a big piece of me, you kind of tied that with the fashion, the
Mhm.
Louis Vuitton and the Gucci and, kind of the entire fashion family out of Italy and France.
Right.
It's good to see that you're kind of creating that environment for your clients here. Like, hey, listen, we're not just
Exactly.
here at one stop. We're not here for one stop,
Right.
right? You're here to okay, do you need estate planning? Do
Yes.
you want to start and be entrepreneurial and be a business? I mean, you're going through that every single day.
Exactly. It's all about the relationship. And I think there's so much of that even with what you do. It's not just you meet somebody, you might, never see them again. It's all about holding their hand through those different chapters of their life, getting the pleasure of doing their closing. Maybe it's someone's first home they're purchasing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's their retirement home and they've dreamed of finally moving to the beach. Ultimately, then they're here and I get to update their will or create their will for the first time. I mean, I do it for young families when they first have their very first baby. I get to do it for people when they're retiring if they never had things done before. I then get to guide their family upon their passing and make sure that they feel, counseled through the whole process and just to make sure that, yes, they're grieving, but to know that they don't have all the hassles and headache of the paperwork side of
Yeah.
things, which is really daunting. So again, it's walking through those different chapters and being present in every phase of their lives.
So you've started an organization here called Professionals in Pink. Tell me about that.
So my profession with law is still primarily male dominated. It is getting to the point where there's more women in it, but
Okay.
still the stats show that it's still more male dominated. So I started this group, I would say 4 years ago now, with a young woman named Katie. She works in finance. She used to work in construction before that. So she's always been in male dominated spaces too. And she said, we really need to have a group for women to come together because typically it can get really competitive. Where if you're the only woman in your, male led law firm, they pit you against one another, or you as other women sometimes just feel like there's only room here for one of us, so we have to compete. That's never been my lifestyle. That's not how I operate. I like to support everybody, but especially other women. So we knew that there's other people like us that exist down here.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to create this group where we could come together, support one another, offer advice and guidance to women who might be looking to start their own business, or if they're women in spaces like us, law, finance, whatever sector it is, just to give a place for them to know that their voice matters and they can be supported by other women. So it's been incredibly beneficial. I love that we get to do it in this area because typically what we do, we meet once a month. We go to a different local business that's owned by a woman. We give her the chance to speak and really promote her business. So then that way we get to go there. Let's say it's a boutique, a bar, a restaurant, whatever it is. We get to patronize, and support her and her cause and get a group of women together. It's super informal. There's no membership fee you have to pay. It's just a place for us to get together and chat and really just be friends. Which is wonderful.
So let's talk about the Fund for Women, and I'm a huge fan of what they do, right?
Yes.
They started by, I think, attracting 1,000 women to donate $1,000 a piece to develop a fund for $1 million, and now they're giving money, to organizations and nonprofits. Can you talk a little about what you do with them?
So I am very passionate about supporting any women organizations. Again, I'm born and raised here, so giving back to my community is important, but I've really realized over the years the causes that I want to support the most.
Tell me about that.
With the Fund for Women, I got involved a couple years ago where I was approached by another local business owner, and she said, if we join this year as a founding member, which is basically you make the pledge to join and to donate every year as a founding member, you would get to participate in their annual fashion show.
Oh, cool.
And
Well,
again,
ding, ding,
that's
ding, ding,
my
me, right?
lane.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm
No
not
problem.
shy at all, right? No problem.
Yeah.
And I get to give them money to do it. Great, I'll do it. I'm so happy about it. So participated in that a couple years ago. Got to model in the fashion show, and it's a great time. It's a really big fundraiser down here for them, which is great because they did start in Northern Delaware. So I'm really excited about more of the work they've been doing down here in Southern Delaware over the years. So the fashion show.
Are you now directing the fashion show?
No,
not yet.
Not yet. But I do. I mean, I love and support a lot of these local boutiques around here. So if they ever need help in really getting different boutiques to, have models and to showcase, their amazing fashions, I'm game to do it. So I love the Fund for Women. I love getting to support the fashion show. But I do, for the last 2 years, I've gone to their annual grants dinner. Okay. And that's really where you get to see every year where the money is going from these amazing donations that women throughout the state are making. Yeah. And this year in particular, I really was amazed to see how much they're doing down in Sussex County because, of course, most of the population is in Northern Delaware, but there's still a need down here too.
Huge.
In the future, I would love to be more involved in the legal side with helping people on the grants. And, even if I have clients that ever want to support an application for a grant, with any kind of nonprofit, I think it would be a really worthwhile endeavor, especially if they're a women-based organization. So.
What do people misunderstand about your role as a real estate attorney? Whether it's in real estate, so what do people misunderstand as your role as an attorney, whether that's real estate, setting up a new business, helping in a business transaction? What are some of those misconceptions?
Yeah, so I touched on that a little bit before too, but I think that's my biggest takeaway that I always try to advise clients again, which is I will advocate for what you want. And I think a lot of times I'll see at the closing table or when I'm doing someone's will that I'll explain something to them and they'll ask me and say, well, what would you do? What do you think I should do?
And you're like, that's not what I'm
Correct.
here to do.
And I have to remind them, again, it's my job that I love so much is I get to empower people. So I like to remind them it's you already know what you want. And if you don't know what you want, I'm going to help you walk through the different steps of if you choose this path, here's the pros and the cons and the risk. If we go this path, here's the pros and the cons and the risk. And then how does that feel with you if you're really thinking about those things? So it's really just making sure that people feel empowered in their decision that they're making. I get to give them the tools in their tool belt where then they can go out into the world and really know that they're living their authentic lives.
As service professionals, no matter what business we're in, we have to do that.
Right.
Right? I rarely will say, if I were in your position, I use the word consider a lot, right?
Mhm.
I think you should consider A, B, C, and D, right? And
Yes.
that's, sometimes that layers, in my opinion, into what you should consider. But
Right.
these are your options and not mine. I can't make
Exactly.
that for you. So
Exactly.
you're just trying to stay within the bounds of like, okay, from a legal perspective, let
Exactly.
me guide you through A, B, C, and D instead
Exactly.
of imposing your thoughts on it.
Right. And I think people traditionally think of lawyers in the sense of, okay, we're these sharks and we're going to go there and fight.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, there's certain attorneys like that in certain fields, but not with this. Again, it's sitting down with my client, really making sure I'm clear on what they want, and then making sure that they feel empowered in the decisions that they made. I like to educate them along the way too, so then they really feel empowered. Because that's a lot of what, again, what people get with lawyers in the past is spewing legalese at them, making them feel really confused, not making them feel guided at all. And
Flexing hard. This is who I
right,
am. What I
right.
do.
And I never want that. That should never be anyone's experience, but that's really a whole value of my practice is just being authentically myself and letting my clients feel
Sure.
authentically themselves too, so I can empower them, make them learn something, not just feel like, oh my God, I just met with this lawyer for an hour and I have no idea what the heck
Yeah,
happened.
right, of
Like I
course.
never want anyone to feel that way.
Of course. That's a good thing. Before we wrap, and this one's yours. Tell me what's happening today with the House of Townsend and what you want your listeners to know and where they can find you.
Yes. So I'm very proud of my practice and super proud of the House of Townsend brand. I did just recently rebrand a couple months ago, and I'm so in love with everything that we've
Pink.
done. It's super pink. We have pink bathrooms. It's all
Love it.
very true
Love it.
to me. And again, that's what it's all about is being authentically me. I know that might be for everybody, but again, I want to have this space where clients can feel like they can be authentically themselves too. So having that relationship along the way, I'm an attorney that will deal with you through those different stages of life. And I want to make sure that people know I'll be there to guide their families too. And that's a perk of me being a young practitioner is I'm not going anywhere. I love this area well. I'm super rooted here. I plan on sticking around for a very long time and just continuing to build my own legacy in the area and just being the best attorney and professional and community member I can possibly be.
And where can we find you?
On houseoftownsendlaw.com. You can find us on Facebook, House of Townsend Law, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, because you have to be there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Next podcast, right? Next
Yes.
right?
Oh,
So,
yes.
yeah, no. So I thank you so much for joining me today. It's been really a pleasure to have you
Yes.
on the show.
Thank
So
you for having me.
next time we're sitting down with Ellen Kassoff of the Federal in Rehoboth Beach. Until then, I'm Andy Staten, and this has been Down to the Beach.